Hey everybody, I'm Stephen Crabtree, and this is our Ask a Bud segment on the Get Roasted podcast. In this segment, we'll be interviewing Tennesseans on their journey into the alternative hemp space and how it's affected their lives, and what would happen if they were to lose access to these products. Today, we're sitting here with Howard Hughes. If you will, tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got into this space.
I'm 68 years old. I'm retired. Um, I saw where I'm living now the first time in 1973.
It's beautiful out here.
I was 15 at the time. I've been keeping my eye on it since. I recently moved here from Arizona, where I lived for 8.5 years. And one of the reasons I moved here, other than this is just a great place to live,
Yeah.
it's that the pain management people in Arizona told me that they didn't have medicinal marijuana like they did in Arizona.
Mm-hmm.
They had industrial hemp, which for all intents and purposes they said was the same thing, without any type of stigma attached to it. And I told them, I said, I don't care what you call it.
Yeah.
It just doesn't work. I'm allergic to opioids, and I can't take NSAIDs.
Yes, that makes pain really difficult.
There are no pain relievers other than those two, pretty much.
Yeah, like we talked earlier before we started, the changes of weather and controls how much pain that you're in, like the storms that we're expecting here in Tennessee and Alabama. I'm sure you can definitely feel that. I've had some injuries myself, so it definitely hurts.
At one time, I weighed 291 pounds, and they needed to do a major knee replacement. So I told them, fine, you do something for the pain, and I can do the work. 117 days after they gave me my first medical marijuana and a delivery system that they taught me through pain management, I was down to 225 pounds, and they were able to do the surgery.
Had you used cannabis before being prescribed by the VA?
No, not really.
No?
A little bit when I had been in college, but had gotten away from it. I was in marine construction.
Marine construction.
And you were inspected and tested by everybody from DHEC to the Coast Guard. So
Yeah. I forgot to say, of course, thank you for your service. It's a rare breed. So it's interesting that you hadn't tried before, and then there's such a stigma that we're still gonna take. It's gonna take forever to work past, but that if you use cannabis products, you're lazy. It destroys inhibition. And that's not you at all. I know you quite well.
they were afraid that they told me that I'd be 400 pounds within 90 days, and that the two effects I've never understood has been the munchie concept or the high concept. But I tell people the fact that there's no pain
Yeah.
is such, I can't imagine anything feeling better than that. So I guess I'm getting the high from that. I don't know any other way to describe it. It's just that the absence of pain is wonderful.
Yeah.
I mean, if I ever wake up and I'm not hurting, then I'm going to be afraid to open my eyes, because that'll mean I'm dead.
Yeah. I got hit by a drunk driver when I was 16 years old, and it messed my back up terribly. And they told me when I was 19 that I should apply for disability, and I didn't want to do that because I've been with my wife since we were 16, and just the stigma of that, of who wants to be with a 19-year-old on disability. So I didn't. And I didn't have health insurance, so for 12 years it took before I had surgery to correct the back issue, all I can say is that chronic pain is, I would say, one of the most life-threatening mental, it has a life-threatening mental aspect to it that you just don't really think about. because it's every day, every time you got to do anything, anytime when you wake up, you have to kind of pep talk yourself to put your feet on the bed and stand up and go do what you need to do, and you're willing to do anything. So that level of desperation, to get relief in any way, is what you're looking for. So that's. Did you have any negative feelings or any feelings of any way towards cannabis when they offered it to you?
At that point in time, anything was much better than the alternative of alcohol.
Yeah, right.
Which is just so many bad things happen for that. Not to mention that you can't take so many medications.
Right, with it. Yeah.
They just very limited scope on things you can use to make yourself feel less bad.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. There's just so many problems that come with consistent alcohol use. I mean, it's okay to recreationally use and go have a few drinks and have fun, but as a pain relief, that's horrible.
Before the ball game and then go sit in the stands and enjoy yourself, that's great. But no, you don't want to come home and drink a fifth every night.
Yeah. So we've got a couple ways that we'll go with this to ask, more on the medicinal side of questions and more on the recreational side of questions. And since you're clearly on the medicinal use, what form of hemp cannabis products do you prefer?
I prefer the flower because they taught us in pain management. That was the easiest replicable dosage.
I would agree with that.
It was the closest way.
The most consistent.
That you could consistently dose yourself within any given product. Now, your ability to get the same product repeatedly, that's a whole nother situation that no one seems to have ever figured out yet.
Yeah.
But
because it's a crop, it takes up so much space.
But it's just so much
supply and demand.
Much more likely that you're going to get either the same thing or something relatively close in the industrial hemp stage than it was in Arizona during the medicinal or the recreational phases of the laws out there.
Right. Okay. I do like that. That a lot of people seem to go towards edibles or a gummy in particular, and I have to say to everyone, there's a consistent horror story that you'll hear, and that's someone taking an edible or a suggested dose, and waiting shorter than what they need to, feeling like nothing's going to happen, and then taking another one, and then around that time, the first dose kicks in.
It's that 2-hour time span that you don't know what's going to happen that people can't handle.
Yeah, right. And a lot of things happen in 2 hours. Yeah,
and then 2 hours later, even more stuff is going to happen. So.
Yeah, especially if you take another one, and then you have a bad, and it kind of gives it a bad rap a little bit. So I like that information was provided to you. It's probably the most consistent.
Well, and within 90 to 120 seconds, you're getting some form of relief. You're going to know whether it's going to help or not.
Yeah. Do you get relief? Any relief from other forms or?
The edibles are okay. I just hate the 2-hour gap in between.
Yeah, right.
And you never really know what you're going to get from one batch to the next.
Yeah, and the way that your body absorbs it's different too.
Depends on what you've had the day before, what you've done that day.
Yeah, the way your body
what you've eaten, everything. It's just too many variables. The most consistent way is with the flower.
Right. I find the best success with flower as well. More inhalables, flower concentrate carts have their own place. But I prefer flower. Other than the smell and where I do it, I don't smoke, at home or around my kids. But I can go outside or, really, I kind of treat it like a public intoxication. If I was in public, I wouldn't smoke a joint on the sidewalk of Nashville, but I might hit a disposable or something and try to discreetly, use it and. Because it is for medicinal use and anxiety and nausea, and so there's been a few times where I've had to take a little bit, and where you're at matters. So that's the only downside to flower is kind of where can you use it, and hopefully as time goes on, we'll have more insight as to what you can and more clarity to the the consumer as to what you can and can't do, and I like the industry. I can't speak for the entire industry, but I know that we are craving some uh, consistent, common sense guidance, and just work with us on this industry that's already established and is in uh, high demand.
You can play the game. You just have to know what the rules are.
Exactly. Yeah, and it's difficult to be a honest player when the rules keep getting changed and moved, and it's not easy educating your staff and telling them or showing them like how you have to operate, and then that's changing every 6 months or even sooner. And then now we're looking at with this the new bills, one losing both THCA and THCP, and then the other one would be changing the regulatory board over it, a new tax. So there's a lot to look into. I do think that we're on the right path, if we can get some of the wording changed, I should say. It would be so to add to that, you go from Arizona, you couldn't get it in Tennessee at first, and then you found hemp products through THCA flower, and now you're at risk of losing it again.
Could be that way. Yeah.
Yeah. So what would happen if you weren't able to get it next month?
We Pain management has approached me and other veterans like me about the subject. Right now, they don't have a plan B.
Yeah.
Theoretically, they could have it sent to us from someplace else.
Right.
Say Arkansas or Oklahoma are the two closest ones right now. They did that while I was in North Carolina.
Yeah. They sent you product or medicine from.
It came from someplace in Kentucky.
Okay.
Once a month, I would get it back.
So it's unsure then. So you would just.
But you had no idea what you were getting from month to month in.
Yeah.
No way to replicate your dose whatsoever, other than they would try to give you either an indica or a sativa, depending upon what you're using it for. And since I just using it for pain, that's the indicas work pretty well.
Yeah. I would agree. I always say purple is for pain. The terpenes that tend to be in the plant, that I don't even want to try to say help most with pain. That blackberry that we had is amazing. I gave you some of that. I can't wait to hear what you have to say about it. I of course I hope I have faith that we will not lose it. We've got a really amazing team with the Tennessee Healthy Alternatives Association, and we've been able to speak to some people on the Hill that want to work with us, and we greatly appreciate everybody. And we've had a lot of people reach out and send the emails through our call to action, and and call. Calling is so important. I think a big problem is that a lot of people don't know how to engage, including myself up until recently, in the political process. And our representatives need to hear from us and how you feel about it. Of course, being respectful. Nobody reacts well to somebody being upset or hateful. So please do that. But call, let them know, hey, these, even if it's not necessarily for a medicinal purpose, or that's why you sought it out, you were to try it and then found out that, hey, this helps with my social anxiety, or it helps with whatever ailment that you may have, and just say, or even if it's somebody that everybody is on the same page as far as wanting clarity on packaging, on like restricted access to children. I don't know anybody that's just willing to sell to anybody. So we need enforcement. And really the revenue that the state gets is another benefit to the citizens of Tennessee, as long as the funds are used correctly. But so would you have to move, or would you stay?
We really don't know. To be totally legal, yeah, you'd probably have to leave, or I don't know. It would probably be the government's call.
Right.
I just from an end user, the industrial hemp is far and away the easiest to use and the most replicable of any of the systems I've been through, from just a blind draw with whatever Uncle Sam wants to send you
Yeah.
to whatever you have available this month, as opposed to you might never see it again. Uh, Here, um, it seems like there's a continuity of product. You get new ones all the time. That's correct, but you get seems to be a consistent base of nearly the same thing,
Yeah.
and that
We
makes
try to do that.
doping and medicating yourself so much easier,
Yeah.
because you can replicate the dose. Because the secret I found is to use as little as you can, as often as you can, and you'll get the most effectiveness out of it.
Okay.
You got to straddle that line. If I waited too long, where I'm not going to be able to stop the pain, no matter how much you smoke, or do you start too early and you don't get the full effect from it because you could have waited a little bit longer?
Yeah, that's a tricky balance.
And it's if you're familiar with what you're using, it's easier to make that decision, depending upon how your day's going, and even things as small as the humidity or wind direction.
Right. Right. Yeah. With weather or a beautiful day. Yeah. That's a good like direction to go. As far as like the difference in your opinion on like what's the process having a medical card, and like say you run out of product and you need some, what would you do to do that?
In Arizona, you were sponsored by a doctor. The individual couldn't walk into a doctor's office and get it and get one. The doctors worked through the state, the Department of Health and Human Services, and then they sent you through a pain management class, and then you were allowed 2 ounces a month, no more than 1 ounce at any given time,
Okay.
which made it very, very hard to replicate once you found something.
Yeah, because that supply may be gone.
When they switched over to recreational marijuana in additional to medical marijuana on the recreational side, you could buy, there was no limit to how much you could buy, but you weren't allowed to possess more than 2 ounces at any given time. And on the medicinal side, you were at the same 2 ounces, no more than 1 ounce at a time per month, which really made it hard to replicate your dosage in your situations. Here you come to Tennessee, it's industrial hemp. If you find something that works, because it's a pretty stable product, you can get as much as you need for as long as you can foresee using it.
Yeah.
And then knowing that the next spring there's going to be something else pretty close that's going to come by. Now, I don't know if anybody, how the other states do it, because I said I've only been in North Carolina, Arizona, and here, and they all handle it differently.
Yeah, North Carolina's got some pretty like good legislation, kind of similar to us in Tennessee, but I know they're not under fire as we are currently. Yeah, that's
They've been growing things to smoke in North Carolina a long time.
yeah, they do a pretty good job at
And
it.
they'll be doing it a lot longer than any of us are going to be here.
Yeah, yeah. With as many states there are in the United States with some form of legalization, I don't understand the pushback. I do understand some of the concerns, that they have.
Money.
And I would agree. I mean, but some of the concerns that are voiced, or one of them in particular, is not being able to tell if a user is high at the time like say during a traffic stop for a DUI. And it's a concern of mine as well
They'll
that,
come up
you know,
with a
if your
test.
vehicle just smells like it, and you consumed a week ago and you hadn't consumed since then, but your car smells like it, if they were to take a blood test, you know, THC would show up, you know, and then would you then get a DUI for that? So I think for both sides, you know, it would be beneficial to have you know, some device that we could use it, but I don't think that we should stifle the industry, you know, in waiting for that technology.
No, the
We should work with each
technology will
other.
catch up.
Yeah, it will. But I think we should work with each other, you know, as citizens and government, you know, and you know, consume responsibly, and don't do it near your vehicle just to be safe. Let's work in this together and not make their jobs any harder than it has to be, so that way we can all continue to, you know, consume, and whether that's for recreational purposes or medicinal purposes. But my heart goes out to everybody that's using it medicinally. Of course, the threat of not being able to get your medicine that helps you, you know, live day to day, whether that's through chronic pain, you know, nerve pain, anxiety, nausea, you know, the list is quite vast, but that adds an extra level of fear, you know, and stockpiling, and some people don't have the ability to do that.
No,
You know, like the other byproduct of prohibition is that the demand is already here. It's not going to go anywhere.
going to be very much more expensive.
Yeah, it would be a lot more expensive, and then you know, then you talk about potential legal issues, you know, if you continue.
And Uncle Sugar is not big on helping you out with that.
That is true. That's a concern. Sugar is in everything. Uh, the marketing standards that you're forced to follow, you know, because of, you know, health risks, it just doesn't seem like those standards were applied to sugar at all. It's highly marketed to children, and it is like, I didn't realize this. I'm getting older, and I really enjoyed this certain, like, granola bar, and I ate like 3 of them a day, and I started to notice that my knees, you know, hurt, my ankles hurt, it felt like swelling almost, and I didn't know like what was going on, and I tried to cut sugar out to see if that would help because of inflammation, and within like 3 or 4 days I noticed a dramatic change, you know, and it was because of the sugar content that caused, you know, that feeling. And it, you know, even the like products that we eat today that used to not be this, but like convert most of your carbs today convert to sugar. Like for instance, like bread or you know, rice or
sucrose, yep.
yeah, and the way that it is, you know, has been made, it doesn't, you know, process the way that it used to, and is even more sugar that you're intaking. So the there's a lot to health that could be addressed just by proper diet and exercise, and it's difficult to get started. I love the feeling of exercising, but even here as I sit today, I have a hard time getting into the rhythm, you know, of doing it consistently, even though I know the benefit that it will give. So I too don't want to lose you know, these products, because it does help me, you know, in insisting, you know, to start. And once I'm not so busy with all this, of course I plan, and that's another excuse that we do. It doesn't take but 20 minutes, you know, to do some form of physical exercise to change your life. But you know, that's a fallacy of us humans.
I do 4
Procrastination.
hours a week of aquatic rehab in a pool. And I'll take a gummy an hour before I do that, because it'll kick in right around the end of the class. The class runs for 45 minutes to an hour. And that'll be when I'll be hurting the most. And then that, I can get those to coincide
Yeah.
at the same time. And that seems to be very beneficial for situations like that.
Yeah. So you kind of use flower and edibles at the same time.
There are benefits from both.
Mm-hmm.
It's just the 2-hour lag is the big drawback.
Yeah. And it seems like you hear from a store owner, you know, that there's more people that don't feel
if you're going to
anything
eat
from
one and
edibles.
go watch a movie somewhere, that's a whole different thing.
Yeah.
If you're sitting around waiting for the pain to stop so you can get up and walk, say go decide you want to take a shower, that's a whole nother thing.
It's an amazing time, you know. And I will say, like, if you go anywhere and smell, flower, just about anywhere. So it is definitely widely used. I do fear for,
More than they will recognize.
yeah. I'm very interested to see, as science, progresses, the developments of the endocannabinoid system and how it works. Because, like I was saying earlier, what I like about the hemp industry is it kind of opened my eyes up, and others, to, like, this being kind of like compound pharmacy. You're able to take each individual part of the plant and use what does good for you. I know a handful of people that do not do well with THC, but do like THCA in its non-psychoactive form, it to consume for medicinal purposes. It's really good anti-inflammatory. But you're talking CBD, CBG, THCV, really non-psychoactive products, and they do very well with those. I want to see more, more study, more information, into there to what we can do, because it is a healthier alternative to taking a lot of other prescription drugs that come with a plethora of side effects that lead you to have to take something else. So I'm very optimistic about the studies that we see, coming forward. So I'm hoping that we can continue to to speak and help people become aware of what's going on in the state currently. We need as many people to to reach out to their legislators, their members, and just let them know, hey, I use these products. I know someone that uses these products. That if you go to tnhaa.org, our call to action is on there. It's pretty straightforward. You just click on oppose. I oppose this bill. It'll generate an email that will be sent to the members, and then there's also a list of people that you can call. And every time that that we share those, they're different. So just keep an eye. I do appreciate sitting down and talking. It's always nice to get to hear a little bit more. I didn't know that you hadn't used cannabis products before, and that it was more suggested to you. I also didn't know that Arizona had kind of told you about Tennessee having what we have. So
But the pain management people, they had it broken down by area and state to state, and which ones they would recommend, and ones that they wouldn't recommend.
Yeah.
For availability reasons.
Yeah, as far as where to go.
Yeah.
Yeah, state-wise.
They would have problems with.
Yeah, and then looking, so, like, as far as in your social circle, like, is there a stigma around, use and hemp products?
People that know me have known me forever.
Yeah.
And people that I've met since I've moved here in Fairfield, I just tell them, hey, if you're coming over to my house, I'm going to step out onto the back deck every now and then.
Yeah.
Especially later on in the evening. I said, but other than that, make yourself at home. It doesn't seem to bother anybody.
I feel like the public opinion has changed quite drastically. We still hear some wild things, but
I mean, I'm surrounded by 6,000 Michiganders, and they've had it legal there for 20 years.
Right.
So, of course, they're a little different than most.
Yeah. That I didn't even think about that. That was one of the questions I'd like to ask is, how you encountered any stigma, or legal challenges. I know, when you go, to the pain clinic, they tend to drug test, and and do you fail, drug tests?
Oh, they flip out at the VA. They don't know what to do anymore.
Yeah.
I take them the jar, and they read the little thing, spiel on the side, and I tell them, thank you, John Boehner and Nancy Pelosi, and they're so confused because the government gives it to you with one hand and takes it away from you with the other hand, and it's just strange closed circle.
Yeah, it's interesting. You would think that Arizona may, at least be able to speak to, or on your behalf, here, saying as how they were kind of, referenced, you to here as it was. But
Soon we'll be able to have a concealed carry permit in all 50 states, which I think is a good thing. But we won't have the same reciprocal option.
for, cannabis products, just yet.
Right.
Yeah.
However you wanted to describe it. Cannabis, hemp,
Yeah.
it's all the same.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just semantics, and semantics is what's going to eat people alive, because it really comes down to money, and there's so much money involved that the bigger you are, the more you want of it.
Yeah. That is it's the love of money, is the root of all evil, right? The money itself is not, but the love of it. It really makes a good person turn bad.
There's a reading course Eden's under lock and key in Tennessee.
That's funny that somebody brought that up earlier about how there's things that you can buy over the counter that are like that. That's, yeah. And yeah, that is another point. If people want it, they're gonna do it. If they want to get high on something, they're gonna find a way. Overdosing on freaking cough medicine, that is insane to me. But people do it. Huffing, like duster or gas, or all of this is crazy to me. But
They say
people
the
do it.
world's oldest profession is a carpenter, and followed right up by his next door neighbor who happened to be a hoe. So,
Well, I can't quite think of anything more to say as far as this segment goes.
Thank you very much for having me.
No, thank you for coming on. I wanted to get you here.
Anything
We've
we
had a
can
lot of
do
good
to,
talks.
do to help is great.
Yeah,
If I tell people all the time, if we don't help each other, nobody will.
I much agreed. Yeah, you definitely need to stand up when that time is near. If
So
not, they'll
many
take you out one by
people
one.
forget that.
Right. Yeah. We much agreed. You love thy neighbor. That all I can say is just don't forget. tnhaa.org. Follow the call to actions. They will be released and they will be new. So just make sure you read every one of them. You can follow all of this on the Get Roast Entertainment, the Get Roasted storefront on Facebook. Me personally on Facebook and Instagram through Stephen Crabtree. I'll just reiterate too. Please call your representatives and be respectful, and let them know.
Yeah, they like phone calls.
Yeah. And if you don't, then they don't. Then they don't know, and they'll just take the information that was recently given to them.
But they write down everybody that calls. They have a phone log in every congressman's office, and they're big on that.
Yeah, and they know exactly the location that the phone call came from, and and that your word carries weight. Again, Howard, I appreciate you very much. Thank you for your service, and thanks for coming on.
Anytime.